Okay, so now that we've set the stage for the world economic conditions and what is the rising risk, which is government debt around the world, but America's leading the way, now that we understand that, and the IMF report is now backing that up, say the greatest risk to our sovereignty is the incredible debt that we're racking up with no end in sight, by the way. Who's to blame for all this? I know right now we're looking at the Democrats and we're saying, boy, the Democrats are to blame, and the Republicans are pointing a finger at the Democrats. And because, you know, the problem with our political system is the goal of the Democrats or the Republicans is to win, to gain power, to gain access to Congress and the Senate and the White House. That's the goal. So they're going to say anything they can to get in. You know, they're going to read the winds and try to decide where the majorities lie so that they can create legislation that's going to buy votes to keep them in power the next 4 years, or however long they in the Senate and the Congress, I guess, for a lifetime. But they're using that thought that once the public realizes they can raid the public coffers, they buy those votes. So who's to blame? We're to blame, America. We, the people, are to blame. We are the ones that are creating and have created this nightmare that we're living under. Why? Because we, the people, refuse, absolutely refuse, to be accountable for our own lives. We've got all of our little personal agendas. The gays have their agendas, and the black Americans have their agendas, and the white Americans have their agendas, and the Hispanics have their agendas. Everybody's got agendas these days. And nobody is pulling for the one agenda that makes everything work. The one agenda that is most crucial for all of our happiness and all of our freedom and all of our liberty. And that's America. We've forgotten about America. All we want to do is squabble about what I'm not getting. They're getting that and I'm not getting it. And then everybody runs to the federal government. The federal government sticks their nose in there, which makes it even worse. Okay? And we just keep demanding and demanding and demanding. Now we're being convinced that healthcare is a right. It's not a right. It's not a right. We're responsible for our health. We're responsible for what we put in our bodies. We're responsible for healthy living. We're responsible to be able to work and to be able to pay our way and help our elderly and help our families. We've lost that ideal, and most of us just have our hands out now. It's all about agendas, and it's not the agenda of America's freedom and liberty anymore. It's our personal agendas. We've become greedy, you know. And the problem here, just one example with marriage. You know, we got the gay and lesbian community now all upset about marriage. Why? Because the federal government stuck his nose into a place it didn't belong, quite frankly. And so they've decided that heterosexual couples can get this break and that break, and of course now gay couples can't get that. The truth of the matter is, if the federal government would get its nose out of marriage, where it doesn't belong, by the way, these issues would all go away. Generally, the federal government putting its nose where it doesn't belong creates the animosity between us, and it divides us. We are a nation divided now. We used to be the United States of America, because back when America surviving and America being strong was the ideal. It burned in our heart, freedom and liberty. That doesn't burn in our hearts anymore. I've quoted Kennedy a number of times, and I'm going to quote him again. That ideal of ask not what your country's going to do for you, but instead ask, what are you going to do for your country? We've lost that. We've got generations of people living off of welfare, bloating the system. These people don't care where the money comes from. But rather than get up and get out of their situation and understand the only person that holds them there is them. And welfare sucks the life out of you. It sucks your ambition. It sucks your self-worth. And it becomes not a benefit. It becomes a generational curse. I'll bet the majority of people on welfare could get off of welfare if they would just take responsibility for their own lives. Welfare should not be handled by the federal government. It's the most bloated, inefficient way to deal with that. It at least needs to be brought back down to the state level. So the problem here is we, the people, just kept demanding, we got to have more, we got to have health care, we got to have this. Now over in Europe, you hear the latest in Europe now, socialized government now says that vacations are a right. Vacations are now a right. And they're talking about subsidizing people, people who can't afford it, poor people and all younger people. The government's talking about subsidizing vacations for people. Meanwhile, the world is going broke. I can't believe this is this difficult to understand. And we've got middle class and people making good money still sticking their hand out from the government saying, I deserve this or I deserve that. It's maddening to me. We deserve nothing. We deserve to get off our lazy butts, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and start doing for ourselves. Because the truth of the matter is, all of this money that we're sucking out of the public treasuries is borrowed money. And we can't pay it back. And still, we the people are demanding more. And our politicians, because they are probably the slimiest people out there. That's the other thing that just cracks me up, is that there's people out there that somehow think we've got to get the government to regulate the financial institutions, like anybody believes that the government is more morally guided than anybody else out here. Like somehow the government is the only one we can trust, that somehow people in government rise above all of the garbage that's going on and they have the moral compass, which they don't. The truth of the matter is going to come out with the Goldman Sachs deal, is that the government is entangled with these people. They have been lying to us because the regulations were there and they were bought out because the politicians are as slimy as everybody else. And we've got to start understanding that. That's going to come out. Not to say that what Goldman Sachs, actually the whole thing about Goldman Sachs comes down to one person, comes down to one email or one person did something. And there's a good chance that Goldman Sachs has got a case against the government. Oh, and by the way, Barack Obama took an awful lot of money from Goldman Sachs in his political campaign. Interesting. And also, we talk about, Obama wants to get tough on too big to fail. Well, who the heck has been bailing out too big to fail? He has. He's been using the too big to fail excuse to bail these people out. Now he's going to flip-flop and say that we can no longer have too big to fail after he spent trillions of dollars? Come on, America. You got to wake up and smell the roses here. We are being duped in a major, major way. And that's why I say the system is corrupt, and we the people have got to stop whining, stop demanding, stop acting like children, and start taking control of our own lives, because we're to blame. We're the ones wanting, I want, like 5-year-old kids. I want candy, I want candy. And the politicians are more than willing to dole out the candy that they don't have in order to buy your vote. And that's what's going on. Got to wake up, America. Got to wake up. They promise to be good masters. They promise that they're going to take care of the people, but at the end of the day, they mean to be masters. And ultimately, after financial collapse, we fall into a dictatorship. That's why America's upset. So it's we the people, it's you and me, that have got to wake up and stop thinking the federal government is Santa Claus or the tooth fairy and is going to somehow give you health care that costs you nothing, because it is strangling this country in debt. Something we better start thinking about. We're the problem, and we've got to grow up, and get on with our lives, our own lives, and be responsible for what we're doing, and stop thinking that the government and the rest of the people in America who are working hard every day are going to give you a free ride any longer, because we can't afford it. Think about it, America. God bless you. God bless America. Keep spreading team. It's time for we the people to change government.